Good morning. This is another Monday morning in our studio, and welcome to AltarEd. Always a pleasure and delight to be present here, to be able to talk to you about things that are close to the heart of God. And He has been good enough to pour out in my life from time to time, not because I'm good, but because He is good. Not because I'm worthy, but because He's humble. And anyway, we all know why we do AltarEd. We do AltarEd because we believe with all our heart that my husband and I, that God is not outdated. His altar is not functional anymore. It's not effective anymore if we bring our situations as the generations of this time with the struggles of these times, because anyway, I'll come back to that later. If we come with our situations at the altar of God, He's more than capable, more than able, more than powerful enough to be able to alter our lives, alter our situations, alter our priorities, alter our expectations, and make us into a new being. Amen? So yes, on that note, let's begin. So today I was thinking about boasting, being arrogant, being proud, and don't worry, I'm not going to talk to you about don't be proud, don't be arrogant, don't be boastful. In fact, I'm here to give you permission to be boastful as a Christian, But what matters is, what's going to make a difference is that whether you're boastful or not, but what you are boastful about. There is this, I won't call it an epidemic, but probably I saw it as an epidemic at one point of time when God was teaching me to be boastful. Because somehow a lot of people inside the church, I'm not talking about the church that I'm in today or anyway otherwise, the holistic church, when I had church friends, and they started coming against me. They started, not in a public way, but in a private time, they would try to counsel me that this is not okay, you cannot, blah, blah, blah. But when I started showing this boastful confidence about God, receiving and learning to believe He is exactly who He says He is, and He is what He's saying, He's that to me. If He's saying He's a provider, yes, He's a provider, and He is my provider as an individual, So I'm going to share this few things that I learned about being boastful, and people didn't like it. So if you want to be boastful about some things that God gives you the permission to be boastful about, get ready for a little bit of resistance, from people who care about you. These people that showed up, but they were not against me. They were being well-wishers because they were afraid that if I'm going to start being so boastful about who God is, I might be considered arrogant by God. But anyway, this was a personal lesson I learned from God. And Bible says anyway in the book of Jeremiah 1:17 or 17:1, something like that anybody who trusts in the word that comes out of a man is cursed. Anybody who trusts more than God, more than the words of God, he or she trusts in what comes out of a man's mouth is cursed. And I didn't want to be cursed because I knew God was teaching me something very specific. So move forward. As I said in the beginning, I'm here to give you permission to be boastful. There are three things that God is okay. In fact, He's so delighted when we boast about it. Number one is boast in Him. Boast about Him. So 1 Corinthians 1:31. Here are my notes. I'm a notepad and a pen girl. I have tried to be I've tried to fit in past in this podcast by bringing my iPad, bringing my tab, or opening my laptop, but I just couldn't keep up to it because I'm a red pen. I'm a red pen and a notepad girly. So yeah. Or a woman maybe. Yeah. 1 Corinthians 1:31 says, if you want to boast, boast only in the Lord. What is the meaning of boast? Let's just think about the times. I'm going to fix my mic a little bit. Yeah. Let's just think about the times when we have been boastful about something. My mom has been boastful about my academics. She has been boastful about my ability to prepare for exams and not bothering her, being a very obedient child, being at least pre-teenage or at least before 18. Yeah, pre-teenage, that's correct. And she has been boastful about me keeping her secrets, as in like the secret she would spill out in her whining time. She never had to say it to me, hey, don't tell this to this person, or don't tell it to Masi, Mami, that I said that I was really mad at that time. That's why I just, spoke in front of you. And she never had to say that because she was confident that she could rely on me. So when we are boasting about something, we are relying on the strength of that entity, strength of that person, or strength of that, of whatever phenomena it is. Some people boast about their degrees because they can rely on that degree to get them an amazing job. And probably thousands of people won't have a job, but they always would because, they studied from this IIT, IIM, which is amazing, which is great. And I want to encourage Christians to study well, to aspire to be in high positions in government. I'm not against that. But what I'm saying is at the end, when you have that degree in your hand, God is saying, boast only in me. Boast only in me. That if God is willing, and He is, He'll get me a good job, not my degree. I did this only for the glory of God. I did this only because God called me to do it. This was my call in this season. You never make your call the crown of your head. The crown of your head would always be Jesus. Just before this 1 Corinthians 1:31, Paul is talking in detail about reminding people that you have been chosen because you were powerless. You have been chosen because you were rejected. You have been chosen because you were despised. You were chosen because you were empty. You were chosen because you were considered useless. And God picked you up so that He could prove it to people that when God picks up somebody without any qualifications, in fact, He picks up the most disqualified person, He is able to make him everything that He wants to make him. So all you need is God in your life. So if you want to boast about the presence of God in your life, that you can rely on Him to be always present with you, that you can rely on Him. You could rely on Him, on the fact, boast about the fact that He chose you. You didn't choose Him. There are times when, and I'm not talking about somebody saying this to me, sometimes I have to remind myself that I'm really not, or when I'm falling in the thought pattern of, hey, this is not how I'm supposed to be. God might just give up on me and choose someone else. I'm like, God didn't choose me because of my qualification. He chose me because I was least qualified. And yes, I'm struggling today. I understand. There are things I'm not able to do the way I would like to do, or I would want to be more passionate about. But I can rely on God, and I'm boasting on His presence. I'm boasting in His presence in my life. I can rely on it, and I can say it. I can bet on it. When you boast of something, you can bet on it. You know how? I bet on God's presence. He's never going to leave me. He's never going to leave me in any situation in my life, even if I am responsible for creating that situation in my life. There are times when there were long ago, there was a little bit of controversial podcast that I had done about 3 ways God has taught me to parent my kids, 3 top principles that I follow. And the first principle was that do not say this to your kids that God is watching you, and people didn't like this. They started listing a lot of biblical references saying, but God is watching you, and I was like, yeah, God is watching us, but God is not watching you. You can't use that Bible verse to put an unhealthy fear in your children. You put a sense of accountability in children. That God is watching you, God is seeing. Even if I'm not there, God is watching everything. And why not start with it? And I'm starting to feel a little bit of anger towards this now. Why not start with God is watching everything good that you're doing, instead of just saying God is watching everything bad that you're doing? Why not say, when when you share your food in school, God is watching you, God is seeing that, So anyway, coming back, there was this controversial thing about parenting. So one of the things that I learned is that I can always boast in God's presence. He will never leave me, and He has not left me in the messes that were self-created. I created those mess on my own in my life, and yet He never left me. And that is why I've also learned to say this to my kids that, see, I'm telling you not to touch this, because if you touch this, it's going to mess up your clothes. And I have been I've been tempted to say, if you mess up your clothes, I'm sorry, I will not be helping you because I'm done. I'm so tempted. And I say that sometimes, but most of the time, because I want to represent Christ to them, I say, if you mess it up, I will clean you up. It is okay. I will always be there for you. You don't have to walk around scared and alone thinking you can't clean that mess up. But it's just going to waste our time. It is just going to, we will be forced into doing something that we don't need to do right now. And that is cleaning up the colors of your clothes. And it's also going to mess up your amazing jacket that you're wearing right now. Do we want that or not? So having said that, my children can always boast. They say it. My daughter says it a lot. Well, you know what? Mama can do anything. There's nothing my mom can't do. And why she says that? Because I'm able to make water come out of the tap. Because she pushed the tab lever to the wrong direction, and she said, "There's no water is over," and I just came and I pushed it in the right direction, and water started coming out. So since then, she thinks I can do anything. Anyway, so for the same reason, I want to tell you today: do not boast about. Sometimes we unknowingly we end up boasting about that, how our mistakes, our sin, our failures, our mess. And God is done with us. That's being arrogant in a way that God does not want you to be arrogant for. I want you to give you the permission today to fully rely and be confident, a stone-hearted confident. I always say I'm very stone-hearted when it comes to the Word of God. I'm not stone-hearted towards people. I'm stone-hearted when it comes to the Word of God. That means if God has taught me something, I'm not saying the whole Bible, if God has taught me a lesson, I'm very stone-hearted. Anything can happen, but I will not budge. If God has said this is it for me. And I will pray myself into it. I will fast myself way into it. So yeah, no matter what, never stop boasting about the fact that God is always going to be present with you. He was present yesterday when you didn't feel like it. He was present on the times when you did not know him. He's present today, probably when you've assumed that you are almost close to perfect. He's going to be present tomorrow when you mess up big time. He's going to be present day after tomorrow when you fail. He's going to be present a week later when you probably do a mistake or a sin that you had never imagined that you will do in your life, and you will come back guilty. And in the middle of that guilt, you will be telling God, I don't think you'll ever be able to forgive me. Boast in the fact that I can be on the most slippery slope that probably I stepped onto it, even though God told me not to. God is not going to leave me. And that is one kind of boasting that God gives us the permission to do. And this is a bit controversial, I think. But this is the truth. If you want to boast only about the Lord. Don't boast about, I will never in my life. Did you see that switch? Because I'm so disgusted with these kind of things that people say. I will never in my life treat my kids like that. You don't know that. I will never in my life, I will ever miss church. You don't know that. And I hate to say it, but you can be in coma for next 3 months. Then what are you going to do? I don't know why I'm making all these funny faces, but yes, I will never, ever treat anybody like that. I will never ever treat people with only one dal and sabji and roti when they come home. Don't say that. Don't boast in your capability of doing things. Tables can turn at any point of time, but let me tell you, whatever table turns and whatever new table comes into your life, God will always be sitting on that table. Boast about that. And He'll be able to guide you. He'll be more than willing to lead you. That's number one. Let's move on to next one quickly. Next one is Jeremiah 9:23. Let me read this out. I love this verse. Oh my gosh. It's just takes so much pressure off us as Christians. It says, this is what the Lord says. Don't let the wise boast in their wisdom, or the powerful boast in their power, or the rich boast in their riches. This we have already discussed in the first point. But those who wish to boast, see, if you wish to boast, God is not pushing you to be actually boastful, but if you wish to boast, then He's giving us something to boast about. He's saying, boast in this alone, that they truly know me and understand that I am the Lord, who demonstrates unfailing love and who brings justice and righteousness of the earth, and I delight in these things. I, the Lord, have spoken. Wow. So if you want to boast today, don't boast about how much Proverbs you know. Don't boast about how many times you have read the Bible. Again, if you know the full book of Proverbs and if you can recite them within a second and you have read Bible 50 times in a year, that's amazing. I wish I could be more like you. And I am trying. I'm not kidding. I'm really trying to read my Bible every day. But I'm not allowed to boast in all of that. What I am allowed to boast about is that I know God and that He is the one and I understand Him. Not just know of God, not just being aware that this is Jesus, He died for me, but to understand Him, to know Him and know what parts of Him. Sometimes we boast about the fact God is not going to like this, God is not going to like that, God is not going to be very happy with this. No, not just his likes and dislikes. He's saying, I want you to know and understand very specific things about me. And that is, first it starts with, I'm the one who demonstrates unfailing love. If you want to boast, then boast about the fact that you know deeply about the love of God that is unfailing. So if you find yourself preaching to people about how much God hates them because of XYZ, how much God is not going to work in their life because of that 1.5 centimeter difference in their hair length that you would you have liked it to be? Stop. God is saying, if you want to boast about something, boast about the fact that you know me. And what parts of me that you should boast about? That I give unfailing love and that I bring justice, and that justice and righteousness to the earth, and that I, the Lord, delight in these three things majorly, and that is unfailing love, justice, and righteousness. Even in the Gospels, it has been told that Jesus is going to cast out the people who come and say, He's going to completely disqualify the people at the entrance of heaven who boasted of all the things that they did, but they still didn't know Him. See, whatever we achieve, if it's not an outflow, an overflow of us knowing His unfailing love, knowing and being utterly, annoyingly confident about who He is to me or who He is to us, it doesn't matter to Him. It truly doesn't matter to Him. It's very harsh. It's very harsh to say that. It won't matter to Him. This is something my mentor who was mentoring me in 2013 said, that I started writing blogs at that time. New Christian. 2012 beginning. And there were some things in my life that she was constantly trying to get me out of. She was very unhappy about it. And I was a very, very new infant Christian. I didn't like that kind of pressure. But she clearly told me, she said, none of this that you're doing will matter to God if you try to act like He is okay with you not seeking Him. You can be, you're eloquent at writing, you're eloquent at speaking, you're very eloquent at it, but your talent is not above the honor of God. So having said that, it won't matter to God how well you preached. If you don't know Him, and what are the three things? He's saying, boast about my unfailing love. And you can't boast about something that you don't know about. My dad boasts about Bangalore, because he stayed there most of his life. He boasts about how people are so different. People are so well-spoken, well-educated, polite, and how that you can never tell that somebody is earning a lot of money by seeing what they are wearing, because they stay so simple. They don't attach their sense of identity to what they're earning. You won't see, you would probably, he tells me that he would see his professors coming wearing those nice, munds, I think, that you wear in Kerala. And they would ace it at their lectures. And he boasts about that city. He boasts about Ooty. He loves Ooty, my gosh, because he also stayed in Chennai for a while in Tamil Nadu. And he boasts about how beautiful the place is and how all the sweaters come out in the evening, and he loves the weather. He boasts about that weather. Speaks a lot, speaks very highly. You know why? Because he's aware. He knows. He has stayed there. He is soaked in those cities. Most of his childhood was in South. He made sure that when I turned 5 or 6, he said that, you know what, I want my daughter to be very, very fluent in English. I want it to be her first language. Not Hindi, not any other language, but English. And So he started speaking with me in English. Why? Because he had picked that culture up from down south, where everybody spoke English very well, and that they were very proud. And despite of that fact, they were very proud of their culture. So he had to know. So for you to boast about God, you need to know God. So if you're not able to boast, be utterly arrogant and confident about his love for you, it's time for you to start seeking that. And the third one, guys, because we're running out of time, like the last time, is 2 Corinthians 12:9. Here Paul is saying, I boast even more about my weaknesses. I boast even more about my weaknesses. How lovely is that? He spoke about how that he had a thorn on his side. He asked God to remove it. God said, my grace is sufficient for you. So I even more boast of my infirmities and my weaknesses. How beautiful is that? What is your weakness today? I'll share my weakness here to open up the stage. I keep falling back into not really falling back. Falling back was until a few years ago, but last 1.5 years, I think those voices keep visiting me. You're useless. You really are not that loved that God tells you that you are. All those voices that I grew up with, which was very normal for the 90s kid. You have to be extra to be considered good. Only, that's, I think, Asian culture too. And those voices keep visiting me. And that's my weakness, and I try to pray that out. But in the middle of all of that also, God taught me to rely on his grace. And I started boasting in it. I said, like, you know what? When I struggle, the grace of God becomes real in my life. And I've learned through that, and it's just not a one neutral statement. I've learned through that grace just doesn't push out your past. It also gives birth to something new. While I was trying my level best to push those voices out, through his grace, he said, I'm not taking it away. He taught me to fight them, or he taught me to stand right in front of them and let those voices not flinch me. He made my feet firm. And I started boasting. I started enjoying these voices. Then that would visit me, sometimes when I'm just standing in the kitchen and I thought of taking a nap, and suddenly I'm like, don't take a nap. You have to be excellent in your work. If you're taking a nap, that means you're lazy. Or if you're taking a nap, but I'm exhausted. If I take a nap, I'll be able to work till late night. Oh, you always make a decision that's incorrect. Like, God, your grace is, because I used to be a not very decisive person. And then I was like, God, I'm just going to do what I think I need to do at this point of time. And I know that your grace is going to be sufficient for me to achieve everything that I need to achieve in this day. I won't be deliberately lazy, but I'm not relying on myself. I'm relying on this weakness for God's grace to be manifested in my life. So these are the 3 things that God allows you to be boastful about. And I hope that I was able to make myself clear, and I didn't in any way give an impression that being arrogant is okay in a worldly sense. If I was, then I apologize in advance. My intention is just to make small efforts and expecting God to bless it. Small efforts to help you come closer to God. There is no other intention, or there is nothing else that matters more to me than seeing people, hearing from me, seeing more of goodness of God, and being able to receive it exactly where they are and how they are. Okay, I'm starting to get a bit emotional. Anyway, this was a great chat and a good way and an amazing way of revisiting what God has taught me in past. And God bless you all. See you next time.